A major decision needs to be made for Montreal after a fantastic third period effort and getting a goal from the third line. There are a lot of question marks coming out of this Montreal game, including once again about the refereeing after one non-call and one call that shouldn't have been called. Some major lineup decisions from Marty St. Louis, but once again, Jesse, the Montreal Canadiens, for a stretch of this game, show that they can be the most dominant team in this series, with quotes coming out from Nick Suzuki after the game addressing it. Game 3 is going to be an absolutely insane game. We got a lot to talk about, and I know you got a lot to talk about. I want to hear from you down in the comment section, all coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. Before we get into it though, guys, as you know, we're here after every single playoff game, every single day with the news, and we're trying to hit 25,000 subscribers by the summer. So if you want to help us out, you enjoy, hit the free button down below. We're not going to dilly-dally, Jesse. We're going to get right into this. Now, all of you, feel free to leave your comments on whatever you want to talk about. I'm sure we'll get into some of it. Look, there's one thing, Jesse, I think we just got to get out of the way early because I don't want to dwell on this. We'll see what happens next game. I do want to mention PAtrik Laine. We'll get to him in a minute first, but what were your thoughts on this overall game, especially that third period? Because honestly, that third period to me, statistically, was the best period we played all playoffs, and it just showed the heart that this team has when they get down late.
And we know that we're good at kind of finishing off games for the most part, even though we would have liked to get that elusive kind of tying goal this evening. But we were able to start off the game strong, Josh, and that was a big kind of important sign. We saw right from that opening whistle that this Montreal Canadiens team was really ready to go. And then getting, that second period now, we're getting that early goal. But obviously, Capitals were able to tie it up pretty quickly. And once they did, that momentum really kind of shifted from there. So it was playing a little bit of catch-up till we get into that third period, and as you kind of alluded to, right? Like, again, just such a great third period team. We're hitting post. Evans is so close. Thompson's making some kick saves.
Oh, he was crazy.
At the last second, we were just so close. Of course, we had a couple power play chances, which we'll kind of get into a little bit more, right? I know a lot of fans have some different thoughts on this right now, Josh, but again, it's all about putting that complete game together. We saw that better start that was really missing from that last game. Again, super close. It's like a bad bounce off Savard in the front of the net that really kind of is the difference in this one. Really a tough one, Josh. But you know what? We see teams all the time, kind of trading, going down 0-2. And then, you're only in trouble when you're losing on home ice, in the playoffs here. So, Montreal, they're going to be coming out strong back at home.
And you know what? Like, I saw a good tweet. I forget who said it, but if you told me earlier this season, we're going up against the top seed in the Eastern Conference as the last playoff team in both games. They've been fighting for their life down to the wire. Last game, we tied it up, sent it to overtime. This game could have easily gone to overtime, or we could have easily had the winning goal late in the third. We're right there with the Washington Capitals. Despite some pretty bad stretches, we're right there with them. And look, tonight we were led by a couple of defensemen in that third line. Cayden, Guhle, and Lane Hutson, masterclasses tonight. Look, the Habs were not out hitting the Capitals, but we didn't need to because the physicality wasn't the difference in this game. It was a bit of that skill and honestly getting goalied a bit. Like Logan Thompson, Jesse, like you said, was insane. Now, Monty, to be fair, he did his fair share for us as well. There is that dynamic. Again, like I said, we'll talk about some of the other forwards later, like Laine, just briefly, because I know you guys want to talk about that. But looking at that difference, Jesse, Guhle and Hutson right at the top. Mathis and Carrier way at the bottom, not contributing much to the offense. And Struble and Savard, Jesse, they each only got about 10 minutes of ice time. I know there's a lot of talk about Xhekaj. Do you anticipate any changes on the D-core side for next game? I don't think I do, just because, I don't know, I didn't think there was a big difference. I know that McMichael goal was a bit tough. Savard couldn't get out of the corner quick enough. No one really picked him up. But right now, with them getting under 10 minutes, do you think that's actually sustainable in a long-term playoff run?
I mean, with their ice time going down for Struble especially, right? Like, it definitely does raise the question if we're going to see Xhekaj in that third game at the Bell Center. I absolutely wouldn't rule it out. Now, that being said, it has been such a small margin of error really in this game. The Montreal Canadiens, they're a young team where it kind of tied. The game got tied, and then they just kind of started holding their stick a little bit tighter, took their foot off the gas for the 1 second. They stopped kind of growing, and they started, going the other direction just really, really quick. So I think this is a young team that kind of learning to figure out these situations and play with the lead in the playoffs is definitely really big. Obviously, that first goal is massive, and that's why, this game kind of losing this one hurts that much more. Obviously, I'm a believer in Xhekaj, especially with the chippiness of this series, what we're seeing. I think that he could maybe add something to this lineup, potentially over Struble. That being said, the Montreal Canadiens have had a puncher's chance of kind of doing this. But, like Josh, there was points in this game where you could see like how it was such a mental game for the Montreal Canadiens, because there was a point where they got that first goal, and then it was like Suzuki who had such a great chance right after to put them 2-0. We kind of saw the chinks in the armor for the Capitals. They started kind of believing in themselves, but then they kind of had a little bit of adversity and weren't quite able to rise to it. Of course, they came close in that third, but not able to finish up. But we see those moments where they can really go on stretches of playing some awesome hockey, right? It's just really kind of remembering that and knowing what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, and like we could see that turn on in the third period, right? And we had some great stretches. Like the Capitals scored twice in a minute, and that was the game, right? There was a 1 minute stretch of hockey in the second period that literally decided this game in terms of goals, right? So, you fix little things and they can make a big difference. Now, Monty is definitely, I want to shout him out again, Jesse, just how good he's been, how locked in he's been these playoffs. But ultimately, the one thing that we've been saying all year for the Habs, it's what you're going to get with a younger team, a little more inexperienced team. It's consistency throughout the game, right? First period was solid. It was quite solid. Second period was, a lot of us didn't quite love it, even though we got that first goal. Like, statistically, it wasn't great. Third period was amazing. The best of the playoffs. One of the better ones I think we've seen this season. But the problem right now is consistency, and some lines are not getting it done. And you see some analysts saying, like, look, with the advantage of last change, I wouldn't be surprised to see Marty St. Louis make a change or two to the lineup. But the Canadiens won't advance as a group until they play as they did in this third period, but all game long. That consistency, Jesse, do you have any, I'm trying to think of secrets that'll unlock this team. I mean, look, there's two consistent lines right now. It's the Anderson, Gallagher, and Dvorak line, and the Suzuki, Slafkovsky, Caufield line. They've been incredibly consistent. I know Marty's been playing around with the other two lines. Any thoughts on that? Do you think there'll be any changes? I'm seeing some people say bring in Oliver Kapanen for Alex Newhook. I don't know if I'd go that far, but like at this point, again, we talked about Xhekaj and D. Do you think there's anyone that could maybe cycle into the lineup for game 3? I mean, I know that's a big change partway into a playoff series, but it's starting to seem like maybe more of a reality since a couple of these lines just can't seem to generate consistent chances.
Xhekaj, I think, is the one guy kind of coming in there. But I love that we were seeing the step up from Demidov in this game today, playing alongside a Newhook and an Evans there. For me, that was really big, right? For seeing him kind of, obviously, his presence was not as much felt in that first game. To kind of see him as this game went on, to finally kind of really making himself noticeable, that was a huge difference for this team when they were able to get some solid pressure. So I'd love to see actually that line to continue. And I'd love to see actually Marty kind of shuffling some stuff up and actually getting some good results as a part of that.
Yeah, and look, Demidov, one thing with him, Jesse, today, I thought he was very physical. I thought that, we saw from game 1, this dude can lay the body a little bit. He's not a small guy. He's like 6'1", 200 pounds, right? He's a big enough dude. And there were points today, Jesse, where he was kind of like hitting some people, and I like to see it, right? Look, he's getting used to it. He's 19 in his first NHL playoffs. It's a tough physical game, a tough physical team in the Washington Capitals. He's probably not used to it. But yeah, like honestly, like there's a lot of encouraging signs like we've outlined in this video, though. I have a funny feeling not everyone's going to be as optimistic about this as we are, and I want to touch on this at the end here, and that is Laine. He did not get a shift in the third period. He didn't touch the ice. Armia only had one shift in the third period, and when Montreal pulled Samuel Montembeault to go 6-on-5, neither Laine nor Armia nor Demidov were seen on the ice. The two extra skaters that they had out there, instead of Laine, I guess, was Dvorak and Gallagher. Though that was our 6. It was Dvorak, Gallagher, Suzuki, Caufield, Slafkovsky, and Hudson, right? So it was like, that's who it was. Look, I know a lot of fans are not happy with this. My take on this, Jesse, I don't want to dwell on this too long because I think there's been enough going out there right now. Not going to put Laine down any more than I think is happening at this moment. He had a rough game. He's had a rough couple games. I believe he'll bounce back. But at this point, I actually genuinely believe that we'll see either Demidov or Gallagher on PP1. Gallagher's a weird one. I know it sounds weird. That's my take. Either Demidov or Gallagher on PP1 over Laine just for next game. I'm not saying bench him outright. I'm saying maybe he'll get a PP2. Do you have any thoughts on that before we kind of finish off this video?
I think what Marty will probably do is kind of demote Laine in terms of the line, but probably keep him on the PP1 where he's best served for right now. But he's going to be starting to tell Laine, shoot the puck when you're inside of those face-off dots and not outside. Because it seemed like, he wasn't kind of shooting when he was in that good position. And then when he was sometimes in that good position to shoot, he wasn't always getting those looks. That was on him a little bit too, though. He was getting some passes where he's in a good spot to really let it rip. So it's more about the positioning for me. Is like, I feel like Laine can shoot, but it's first putting himself. He gets in the right position. The puck is naturally going to go in from there. But yeah, Josh, we're trying during the game. You're expressing a little bit of frustration with Laine. And we don't see him after that second intermission. We don't see him for the rest of the game. After, it was just hilarious, the whole timing of that. rightfully though, so at a certain point, right? For, obviously here on Habs Digest, we pride ourselves on players that show that heart and soul, that Hudson, that Gallagher, kind of
Andy
bring to the
today.
table, right? Of course, as well, we can count on Anderson, chipping in on a big team goal there with Devo. But you have to feel like, again, when that's kind of missing the playoffs, and it's things with Laine where he will do it sometimes. It's like he is capable, and that's what almost makes this frustrating because he's shown that sign, but just in the playoffs here, I think the frustration with Marty is just where we know we need to see that all the time, back checking, making that effort all over the ice.
Yeah, and look, again, I have belief he can get back to where he was, but at this point, like, you don't have much margin for error, like you said earlier. Like, if he's not playing well, bench him. That's what happened. Montreal had a good period. Correlation does not equal causation, but at the same time, I think we'll be okay if he takes a little bit of a reduced role. And you know what, honestly, keeping him on PP1 might not be a bad idea, Jesse, because that's where he is best served. That's where he can provide the most value to the team. It's just not working right now. Final little thing, I just wanted to play this again. The fact that Caufield got cross-checked in the face. Gallagher earlier, I don't have a video of that. That wasn't a penalty, but this was a penalty.
Wilson's diving there.
Oh my gosh,
he
is he ever?
That a whole lot.
Is he ever? He does it a whole lot for such a big guy. He sure loves to fall pretty easy, doesn't he? Oh my goodness. Look, Caufield was upset.
Timber.
Yeah, not to mention, like, that Caufield was in the middle of a scramble in front of the net. Look, I'm not gonna crap on that too much. Reffing, I thought, was still not great tonight. A few missed calls. Kind of went both ways. Wasn't as egregious, I think, as game one, but like that missed call late at the end. To me, this is unmissable. That's blatant as it gets. The guy's bleeding. Anyway, that is what it is. And I know the Anderson thing was like a makeup call for boarding, whatever. But let us know your thoughts and everything down below. Crazy game. We're super excited for game 3, and I hope you guys are just as excited as well. We'll be right here, but thank you for watching this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching every single day. Hope we can bounce back. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.